Alright, sorry about that. I don't know why my Amarok's been freezing. It didn't do that yesterday. Keep an eye on it in my OBS window. So, hello everybody! This is gonna be So Up Mirage. This is a treasure game. Also localized by Working Designs, much like my earlier run that I did of Ray Earth yesterday. So, we'll get this started. Timing starts when I gain control of the character. So we'll go ahead and start the new game and mash through. Now hopefully Amarok doesn't crash again, because Amarok is also the... That's also how I'm watching myself play, because I don't have my TV set up with a splitter for this cable set, so... Alright, so in this first area here, we need to wait for the enemies to jump from the background, and then we punch them and steal their money. So you have basic moves. You can grab enemies or have a reflector set up with your O button, jump with X, and shoot your weapon, which is shown underneath your life bar at the top. With the last button. What is that, square? Yeah. So before we get to a certain spot in the next area, we need 300 money. Because we'll be buying a better weapon, because the weapon we have right now is kind of cruddy. And I didn't get money from that last one because it kind of stacked up there. But yeah, this game is by Treasure. It was released in '97 for the Saturn. Got a PlayStation port in '98, and then it came out in very early 2000 in the States. And because this is a Working Designs game, of course the difficulty was ramped up a lot. I'll be going over that as we run into those things. So because we already got 300 money in the first area, we can just destroy all the enemies in this first screen. This is a normal sort of like running gun slash beat 'em up where you're frequently screen locked until you destroy all the enemies on that screen. The weapon I have now, I have to mash to use it, so I'm just, mashing on my square button. That's going to change really quickly. So there's a number of secret areas in this game where if you go around a certain area or jump over a pit, you'll run into a secret shop, and the first one is this one here. Go all the way to the top of the shop, and it'll keep looping, and eventually you'll run into a level 6 weapon, level 6 weapons being the strongest of each type. I think there are 7 types of weapons in the game. And now I have an auto-fire weapon that does a lot more damage than my basic weapon that I start with, and I can cheese pretty much half the game this way. That screen can be cleaner if you can despawn some enemies if you destroy them fast enough. So this is going to be the first boss of the game.
Let's get it on, baby.
And that was a boss. I was 4 damage off. What you want to do there is reflect these shots and then have it be under 40 HP and then just knock them off the cliff. Because the cliffs will do half their life bar in health. So, the basis of this game is, I know a lot of people know the treasure game Ikaruga, which came out after this, where you have a red side and a blue side, and that determines, which bullets are going to hurt you and which enemies you can shoot. This is kind of the prototype to that, except in a action game. where your blue side, when you're facing left, is going to hurt red enemies, and vice versa. So your red side hurts blue enemies. So bosses will usually have their attribute displayed at the start of the fight, and then you just need to go from there and say, okay, this guy's Mirage, which is red, so you need to hit him with your silhouette or blue side. Your weapon is the same either way. It's just depending on what you're gonna do HP damage to, health damage to. If you hit an enemy that is the same color, so if you hit a red enemy with your red bullet, you're going to drain their spirit or their mana from them. And in the US version, you absorb it back. So if you attack same color, you're going to absorb that mana back and drain it from the enemy. In the Japanese version, you only drain it from the enemy. However, in the Japanese version, you also do not lose mana when using your weapon. In the US version, you do. So the more I shoot this weapon, my mana is going to drop every so often. So I can show it here. We're down 298 now, 297. I'm just standing here shooting. I'm not picking anything up. Not getting hit by anything right now. This weapon that I'm using, it's called Sarosa. It has the least spirit drain of all the weapons. And that's why it's the only viable weapon to use in the English version speedrun. Because the mana drain from all the other weapons is way too much to be useful. That was another boss, by the way. Alright, got the run glitch there. You're supposed to walk in that cutscene, but if you hit the trigger a certain way, you'll end up dashing instead. So I said the weapon's name was Sarosa. That is another English version change. In the Japanese version, they're all named after the 7 deadly sins, because this game has a lot of religious what do you call those things? Just a lot of religious imagery in it. Between the names of the characters and things. Okay, you need to go in the corner and stay there. That was okay. You want to grab that boss early on and shove her into the corner, and then just slam her into the ground over and over as you shoot her. You only need to get her down to half health. Yes, overtones, that kind of thing. Symbolism, that's another good word. So all those names of the various religious symbolism and overtones, they got changed into just fantasy useless names. So here's another walker boss. Walkers are really the first example of a normal type enemy, where the only way to damage normal type enemies is to reflect shots back at them. That's what that little thing is. It's a reflector. You reflect shots of whatever color is being shot at you, or neutral shots. Neutral shots are always going to be green.
I smash you like tiny puppy.
So this is another mini boss. He's a little annoying because he can do this and jump back onto the car and throw stuff at you, and you're not able to hit him while he's doing this. It's entirely random if he does that or not. That is a loading screen, only in the PS1 version. The difference between the Saturn and PS1 versions in general is just different sound effects and missing background layers, because the Saturn was more of a 2D powerhouse than the PS1 was. The Saturn version also has no saves, so you just have to go through once, and there's a couple bosses that got added to the PS1 version, and that's okay. So this is the first big normal type boss. I call it the freaking gun because it's very annoying and very random. The bullets that load into the back sort of determine what shots are going to be fired, and I missed 2 of those. You want to have either that giant laser or the spread shot being fired.
Reflector! Reflector!
Enemy power status critical.
So that must have been a spread shot because it did a lot of damage. Another change in the US version is there a blue one got through. Another change in the US version is reflected shots do a lot more damage both to you and to enemies. So next is the best boss in the game. She's a giant flying catfish girl that loves flowers very much. Also, her leg itches and she wants candy. Can I get your arm in my hitting range, please? Thank you. So she can also be annoying because she has a dive move, though she'll just go underneath the stage and possibly stay there for a good minute or so and just try to charge you. Each arm you destroy on her does 40 damage to her health. Please position yourself correctly so I can hit you. I've never seen her actually pull her arms back in and change them. And her body blocks shots because her body is normal type, so this is ending up... Okay, come on. There we go. Thank you. We'll stand there because the game would move us there. She wants us to buy her pretty freaking flowers, but we don't purchase flora from giant homicidal flying fish. And that's the end of Area 2. Pretty straightforward. It still isn't really throwing a lot of both color enemies at you yet. It's gonna start doing that in the next area.
Be careful. Remember, how's on your trail now?
Let's go!
So on this rooftop here, if we just stand here, we won't get the enemies in the back won't activate, and we can just destroy these enemies, and we just need to destroy these guys to move on. So even though it's really annoying to sound, I know someone was like, I don't think I can listen to this game for an hour. The crouch dashing is actually a lot faster movement than just normal dashing. Once we clear that screen, instead of going down, if you go to the left farther, there's a secret shop, and you have to clear that screen off if you want to go back to the center again, unfortunately. There was also a secret shop at the end of stage 1 in that area, and there's one in this area too if you go down when the map gives you the option to iterate after running off this first wheel. If we wait for the wheel to destroy that and go down, there's a shop down there. Why is an enemy standing next to the shop? I've never seen that. So you want to leave as many enemies alive as you can here, because then the wheel will go faster. But you want to kind of stay ahead of the wheel so that you're not locked to being in the center of the screen as well. So, take a little slow across here because there's a little guy hiding behind the pillar and we need to wait for him to come out. You don't need to turn around, I think, but I do it out of habit. He's a nice guy. He's going to give us an item here. We do not want him to give us health because we do want to actually die at one point. Okay, he gave us mana, which is good. If we die at a point before the end of Area 5, we will skip a hidden boss. And the time it takes to die is shorter. So, this boss here, we just punch him in the corner and he forgets how to boss. This only works in this version of the game. He will still jump around and move and whatnot if you're playing the Japanese version, I believe.
Let's go! Yay! Yay!
So here's the next major boss. He's special. All the area boss is kind of a gimmick to them. So the cat girl had her arms into damage. This one you have to turn one of the colors before you're able to damage him, because then his body's invisible until that. I turn him blue because the giant laser he uses is a lot easier to dodge than the homing lasers he uses when he's pink.
Enemy power status critical.
A lot of people missed this game when it came out. I found it in Game Informer, actually. Just they had a few advertisements for it before it came out. Because Working Designs like to take out like full-page advertisements, and got a lot of their games reviewed in Game Informer. That's how I found it, and I bought it pretty close to launch, and I've, you know, kind of obsessively played it ever since. It is actually a pretty difficult game, especially if you don't know the secret. You don't know where the secret shop is for the first weapon.
How many seconds you last this time?
Reflector! Reflector!
Oh, she changed sides. Alright, I'm just gonna shoot you instead, and he can do that. He can start, the blue side. This boss has both sides as well. He can block your attacks by kind of jumping on them. She's supposed to be dying, but I can just do that. Okay. Not perfect there. She tends to fly around more because this arena is bigger than the last time you fought her. This is Zohar's recurring boss. She tends to fly around more in this one versus the first time. Yeah, this game is super fun. I highly recommend it. It's not that expensive. You can usually find the English version for around like $50, and the Japanese version is starting to get up there in price. A lot of people prefer the Japanese version. I'm weird and I prefer this version just because I'm more used to it. There's a cutscene skip there, where I get hit by a car. If you have a Japanese PSN account, it's also available on there for like 700 yen or something. So this is the auto-scroller boss, because, you know, every game has an auto-scroller boss, right? Oh, I am low on spirit. I need to drink some from him. Okay. I was like, why am I not auto-firing? And it's because I had 200 spirit. There's another thing about this level 6 weapon. When you're under 1/3 spirit, you will not auto-fire anymore, and you have to go back to mashing. Differences between English and Japanese, there are a lot of differences. English version is harder. Enemies have more health, especially neutral type bosses have more health, but neutral type reflecting does... Neutral type does more damage in general to both you and bosses. Weapon cost is changed. In the Japanese version, it's all even, so like, all level 1 weapons cost whatever, all level 2 weapons cost whatever. English version, it depends on the weapon type, so the Sarosa weapons are going to be really cheap, while the Gratoni weapon is going to be really expensive. In the English version, you can't drain mana from enemies.
Enemy power status.
I mean, you can drain mana from enemies in the English version, that was added. In the Japanese version, let me start over that, I'm so sorry. In the English version, when you drain mana from enemies, you absorb it back. In the Japanese version, you just drain it from them. You do not absorb it into your own pool. What else is different? blanking on what other differences. There's a good handful of them because working designs. And between the Saturn and the PS1 version, the Saturn version has no saving, and there are two extra bosses in the PS1 version. Depending on there's a choice you make at the end of the game that determines please die. That determines what ending you get, and they added in a boss on the easy path. I call it the easy path. In the PS1 version, and then also there's the hidden boss if you don't die before a certain point. There is a TAS of this game that actually came out just this year. It's a TAS of the Saturn version, and I want to say it's like 27 minutes long. It just kind of shows how much RNG there is in this game. Please hold still. There we go. A good strategy for casual play of this game is to just drain all the enemy's spirit so they can't attack you. Especially helpful for that boss, because then he'll just run around and do nothing.
Let's make this a good one.
So, slot machine boss. We'll see if we can get some extra damage on her at the start here.
Reflector! Let's make this
Okay,
a
that was a
good
little bit
one.
extra.
A big
It's very easy to juggle her in the Japanese version because you have a weapon that's better at juggling. Oh, she stood still for a long time. This is going to be a 2-cycle.
A big winner.
Of course, I'm going to pick up this health here, unfortunately, but
Let's make this
it wasn't that much, actually. That's the quickest I've had that boss go in a while, so we're going to want to just punch her over here. So she's on the ground, and she'll walk over.
Thanks for playing, loser.
That was a very, very fast bunny girl. So now it's time for the longest boss of the game, barring the final bosses on the hard path. This boss is pure random what he does, and we cannot damage him directly. Instead, we must punch enemies into his soup, turn the soup blue, and wait for him to sniff the blue bubbles, and then he will take 8 damage per sniff. No matter how many bubbles he inhales, he will always take 8 damage. If there are red bubbles, however, he will gain spirit, so he gained a little spirit there in one of those sniffs. The number of red bubbles he sniffs will determine how much spirit he gains. At 100 spirit, he will do a giant laser beam attack. So I hope you like hearing Power Punch over and over, because it's going to be this way for about 3 minutes. This game is very silly.
Oh dear Lord, that's terrible.
Yep, we're punching these guys into the soup, and they are. Ooh, he got a lot of spirit there.
More,
They are boiling to death and turning the soup blue.
More. Oh dear Lord, that's terrible.
I hope he doesn't get a laser off. It's just really annoying and waste time. After every time he sniffs and takes damage, he will throw in some Himalayan pink salt into the soup, which will reset it to neutral.
Needs a little salt.
And that's also one of his moves, is to throw in some pink salt and reset the soup to neutral.
Reflector!
More. Move.
There are some weapons in the game, I think the boomerang one is one of them, where you'll be able to, if you stand on the edge, you'll be able to reach and hit the enemies on the other side. So we're just waiting for him to sniff the soup when there's blue bubbles, instead of just sitting there, mocking us with his 5,000 money.
Enemy power center.
Oh dear Lord, that's terrible. More. Oh dear Lord, that's terrible. More. Oh dear Lord, that's terrible.
5,000 money. 5,000 monies is a lot of monies. I think the currency in this game is actually just called money in the Japanese. At least in the Japanese version, it's just called money. Okay, you got to do a laser beam. Shoot. I need to move. Okay, we're good. Never mind. That was kind of scary, actually. So it wasn't letting me switch weapons or use my reflector because there was an enemy in front of me. I have pretty low spirit. I was panicking there because if... Okay, he's gone. If my spirit is drained to 0, and I have multiple weapons, whatever weapon is in my front slot will be absorbed and converted into a full spirit bar. Kind of like a full spirit refresh. Where it's just like, oh, look, you ran out of spirit. We're going to try to help you and give you all your spirit back. We do not want that to happen with the level 6 weapon. We do not want that to happen with the level 6 weapon. I'm like not paying attention because I'm like a little freaking out here. Anyway, we don't want that to happen with the level 6 weapon because we can't get another one of those. The most we could do is we could buy a level 5 weapon in the next area that we're coming up to here, which would be okay, but definitely not ideal. And that boss, he took off a huge chunk of time because of that laser beam and me getting stuck there. Usually what you want to do with laser beam is just sit there and reflect it and it won't do anything to you. But announcing your attacks is so anime, he has to do it. Alright, so we got these giant snake with a goat head and a sheep head. We're gonna go to the right because I'm used to going to the right. The right side has a secret shop in it. The only difference between right and left is the existence of the secret shop and what direction you're running.
Sorry about this. Nothing personal.
We do want to switch over to that level 1 weapon here, because all the bosses are going to be normal type. And it's okay if we lose our level 1 weapon, that's fine.
Reflector!
Enemy power status critical.
Reflector!
Alright, I'm gonna grab that. It is better to die by HP, because a death will also... You get 10 continues in this game. A death by HP will let you restore your health and your mana without wasting one of your weapons. So I will try not to die in this battle and try to die in the next one. Because I still need to die, actually.
Witness our power, microbe.
Okay, so this boss is the most annoying one in the game.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
He tends to just jump around.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
And shoot you, and he's neutral type, so you have to damage him by reflecting.
Red rum. Red rum.
And he jumps around saying red rum over and over again.
Caution. Power status.
I may be being a little overly cautious here, just because I don't want to lose my level 1 weapon, because I do use it. I actually do use my level 1 weapon for the last boss.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
Try to pick off some of these enemies. Okay. Now that they're blue, I'm gonna let them...
Red rum.
let them kill me? Come on.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
Trying to let
Red
him
rum.
kill me.
Red rum.
Come on.
Red rum.
There we go. It's fine.
Messenger program.
Again, we want to die. And now the screen is all, like, totally zoomed out. Okay, now let's actually do some damage to the boss.
Enemy power status.
That was really good.
Red rum. Attribute wave. Attribute wave. Red rum.
Reflector! Power punch!
Red rum.
Reflector!
Red rum. Red rum.
Reflector!
We want him to do that grenade attack there, and also just to stand still and take the hits from it.
Red rum. Red rum.
Please stop juggling me.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
The next boss in this stage is a silhouette type, so I do want to have, you know, some spirit so I can fight him.
Red rum.
This no, he did his stupid invulnerability move there.
Red rum.
Come on, attack me.
Attribute wave.
No, don't do that. So you can shoot him, does nothing.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
Nope, of course he jumped.
Red rum.
Because it's this boss, so of course he jumped. There we go, this should do it unless he does iframes here.
Red rum.
Or jump out, okay, there we go. Worst boss in the game because he is completely up to how he behaves. He murdered us, we murdered him in return. He's rude. So now we have the next boss, we just have to bring him down to half health again, luckily. He's not too difficult, he can be annoying because he also has attacks where he is invulnerable and you can't hit him. We do want to switch back to our level 6 weapon once the fight starts, after all this dialogue. Do not ask me about the plot of this game because I do not remember it and it is very confusing. Essentially, Earth had an event and like an apocalypse happened and turned everybody on Earth into one of the two attributes.
Watch this! Burning arrow!
And the character I'm playing is, her name's Shina Nera Shina. She's the messenger of justice and she's trying to reset the Edo system in order to bring the Earth back to the way it was. Or something like that. Please stop dodging. An easy way to cheese this boss if you're playing casually is to just sit on your blue... Oh, that was actually relatively quick. Sit on your blue side and just reflect everything he does. If you're lucky, you'll get stuck in a kill wave loop, and he'll just do that over and over and essentially destroy himself. So at this next loading screen here, right here, instead of that, it would have been a entry into the hidden boss where you need to answer 3 questions correctly, but to fight him, you're basically fighting the Reaper himself. Alright, so this area here, relatively simple. You are kind of getting hit spirit-wise by these guys because you can't just dodge them. And now we have to fight 2 walkers. Let's destroy these guys to get rid of some of the lag, and I totally whiffed that. So we got 1 fast walker and 1 slow walker. What I'm going to stop on the edge there, knock them off, and then I'll do half their health, as usual. Okay, that's the fast one down. Sometimes they will jump on the platforms, which is a lot easier way to deal with them. Okay, that wasn't bad for the walkers. So the 10 continues you get are actually per save file. If you beat the game on all 5 paths, so basically taking all the different endings and beating the Reaper at least once, you unlock a special options screen that can give you stage select, difficulty select, music, like, you know, music test, sound test, and then that's if you press X on that screen, on the options menu, or the secret menu, or whatever it is when it unlocks. If you press start on the options menu, you get extra things to choose from, including to slow down or speed up the game and to resize sprites. Those are just fun modes, and it actually gives you a warning, like, the game can crash if you use this mode. And actually, if you do set the game to go as fast as possible, the game will not be able to handle the slot machine boss and will just soft lock there, and you won't be able to pass the boss because it can't run anymore. So this is another really fun and kind of unique boss. He's a giant trash compactor dragon, and he's hungry. So we want to lure in enemies of the opposite color that he currently is. So right now he's blue because his wings are blue. So we want to have him eat all the little pink girls. He can eat up to 4 per round, and then he'll start trash compacting. His AI is programmed to go towards the same color of enemies that it currently is, otherwise his arms will just kind of flail around. We need to have him eat 10 enemies total of, like, the opposite color. So after he eats 4 here, he's gonna switch colors to pink. And then we need to feed him blue enemies. And then I'll switch back, and we'll feed him more pink enemies, and then he's done. 3 rounds is what we want for this boss, so since he's gonna be turning... I just took like a giant bomb in the butt or something there, because I went from 60 HP to nothing. Anyway. So he's pink now. He has a few simple attacks. He just has these slow-moving homing shots. He has a ground laser. He has the ring. The ring will make you not be able to jump more than once, and it's a very slow, like, low jump. Basically, he's trying to destroy the enemies that he doesn't want to eat before you can guard them. I think I took one of those in the butt. Like, right as it split up or something. The enemies will follow you around, so if you just lead them to the grabby hands, he'll eventually grab them. I know, this music is really dramatic. It's actually not my favorite boss track. My favorite boss track in the game I actually don't get to hear in the speedrun, unfortunately. There is a butterfly boss on the easy path
Enemy power
that has a really epic boss theme. Alright, he just needs to eat, he ate 4 of each, so he needs to eat 2 more. So I'll just have him grab these 2, and then whatever he grabs from there is fine. It's all just reducing lag now. And time, because he'll usually grab a 3rd one, and then start trash compacting them, so we'll let him grab a 3rd one. You can shoot the enemies out of his hands as long as he is not spinning them. So the trash ships will start going down, and we'll just destroy all the enemies as they drop in, so he doesn't grab any more. Alright. So this next boss here is
Caution, power status critical.
one of the splits for the ending. There's going to be a 2-minute timer in the back, and it depends on if we beat the boss in 2 minutes or if we just survive for 2 minutes. Because beating the boss takes, less time than just standing around for 2 minutes, we want to destroy the boss. Alright, that's fine.
Messenger program initialized.
I think they actually got rid of all the, reflecty bits.
Reflector!
Enemy power status critical.
not bad. You can do this in about 30 seconds if you catch her and she doesn't switch sides or anything like that, or run around a lot. That area is actually used in a secret mode that gets unlocked when you beat all 5 paths. I forget what they call it, like Core Fighter EX or something. It's a 2-player mode where one person plays China, one person plays Zohar, and you just like have a little versus mode like that. It's actually very weighted in Zohar's favor because of the spirit draining system and the fact that whoever plays China is only given 3 weapons and 2 of them suck. Alright, so here we're fighting Zohar in her Cypher form. Basically, her shackles were unleashed. She's actually Guardian Angel, just like all those other Guardian Angels we fought, but her power was limited, so she could have free thought or something like that. This boss is just a giant damage sponge. I think she started out at 5,000 HP. We have to knock all that down like 8 at a time here. Pretty sure my weapon does 8 damage per hit. A special thing about Zohar and all the times you fight them is you cannot drain spirit from them whatsoever. It'll just bounce off of them and do nothing. This can be very annoying for these final bosses because of the spirit losing method that the English version has, where if you use your weapon you lose spirit. So you can easily, if you have like a different weapon that uses a lot of spirit, you can find yourself just running out of spirit and having a very weak attack instead. So at halfway health, her pants will fly off and start flying around the screen and doing damage to you. Or trying to do damage to you, and every so often it'll pose in the back and send off a giant bunch of lasers at you. Otherwise, this boss is not too difficult, it's just a lot going on. You can easily dodge all of the blue side's attacks if you just time it right here, where I'm just like jumping in the center and jumping at the right time. You can never get hit by those swords. That was pretty good for Zohar. So Zohar gets death by math. So the future is in our hands, and our friend Bug comes up, and he's gonna give us a shop in case we want to go shopping. We don't need to go shopping. That was a gold split for me. That's kind of cool. Alright, so here, usually I mash the text by alternating circle and X. I am not going to do that here. Alright. Because if, there's no delay in the selection there, so if I'm hitting X and it'll select the left side, then, I'm fighting the true end boss, and that's slower. So we want to select the right option and fight Megiddo again here.
You're of no use to me now.
The first half of this fight is exactly the same as the first time we fought him. I'm gonna drain some spirit from these dudes.
Kill wave! Kill wave!
Surprise! Surprise! Helping hand!
Kill wave!
I was gonna say, he's playing really nice, and then he stopped playing nice.
Surprise!
Watch this! Burning arrow!
He can actually do one of... Ooh, okay. Careful there. Come on, stop running away! And come back. He can actually do one of two attacks when he jumps off screen. One of them is Burning Arrow, which is the one we want, because we can just grab him there. Please, stop doing that.
Burning arrow!
We have to be really careful, though, when we do grab him, because he can get out of grabs very quickly. Like that. And, throw roses in her face, and roses do neutral damage. Alright, I should be okay.
Enemy power status.
This is not going to kill him, so... Okay.
Messenger program.
Take the death
initialized.
there, and do it a couple more times. There we go. And that's it. That's the run. Forgot to say that. So, in his second form there, he gains a lot of reflective moves, especially that one, like, full screen reflect that he gets. If by using the Parasite Bomb, we can just kind of avoid having to dodge all that and things, because we're invulnerable while we're using it. And if we're at high enough spirit and he stands still and is nice, we can kill him in 2 spirit bombs there. Parasite Bomb, whatever. So, sub 45, that's pretty good. Had a few gold splits in there. I haven't actually played this in a while, but this game is, like, pretty much muscle memory ingrained into my body at this point, because I've been speedrunning this game for 12 years now. I don't have the world record. World record is like a 37 and change by Chaos42666. He's the only other person who really runs this game. I think there's someone who did, I think Cronoon did a Saturn run as well. That Chaos also hosts Saturn version. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed it. And I think, I forgot what was next, but please enjoy the next run. Siphon Filter's next, so have fun. Thank you for watching.